So yeah, Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor's cast as Jesse Eisenberg. Everyone thinks that's bad. Everyone thinks the casting was bad. That he was a terrible Lex Luthor. That he was the worst part of the movie, etc., etc. Now, let me give you a little preamble. As I told you, I was I was ready to trash. I was so incensed by the time I went into Batman v Superman. By the time I purchased my ticket to go into Batman v Superman, I wasn't even going to go to Batman v Superman, the movie. I wasn't going to go and watch it until they announced that Wonder Woman was in it. And then I was like, okay, now I've got to support this movie, because if I don't support this movie, they might say, oh, it's maybe because it's Wonder Woman was in it, maybe because people responded to Wonder Woman. You know, I didn't want it to be one of those things, so I had to go and support my girl. But anyway, as anything with Wonder Woman in till the end of time, until even if the movie is bad, like the next Wonder Woman movie is bad, I'm still going to go watch it, because I need them to know that even if it's bad, it's not because there isn't Wonder Woman fans out there. It's because their movie was bad. That you know, Wonder Woman's awesome. Anyway, but put it this way: when I found out that Ben Affleck was cast as Batman, I went on a rampage online. You've got to see some of it. I went on, like, it was rants, hatred, there was vitriol, real vitriol in these kind of rants that I went on. And I felt sick. I couldn't sleep. I could not think at the time of a worse casting. It was like, to me, Ben Affleck was like George Clooney without any charisma. You know? And I'm not a huge fan of George Clooney, but I can at least watch his movies. I didn't like Ben Affleck. I mean, I didn't like the guy as an actor. I thought he was a wonderful human being, but I thought he was a very, very vanilla as an actor. I didn't think he was going to do a great job, and I thought he was going to rob us of a great new interpretation of Batman, which could have come from a superior actor who may have taken a few more chances. Okay, and I'm going to say something about Batman as well, because I hear all this stuff that Batman is, or the Batfleck, Ben Affleck is the best Batman ever. And I really, really strongly disagree. But I think he was really good in this movie, great in this movie. But best Batman, come on, guys, calm down a bit on that shit. Everything new is the best nowadays. I don't know why. Like, everything new that comes, like Civil War, it's the greatest comic book movie of all time. And then by the time the next one comes out, they'll start dissing Civil War and saying, oh, it was all crap. And it's, like this, that, and the other. And they didn't quite nail Spider-Man. Every time something new comes out in this generation, they start trying to make their new thing the best one ever. No, Ben Affleck is not the best Batman. Straight up. He ain't got the capability, but he did surprise me. He shocked me a lot at how good he was. So I just thought I couldn't be more offended anyway. This is the narrative. I thought that and then they announced Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, and I was like, I was so tired. I was so dispassionate by then. I was so off this movie, because I already knew Wonder Woman was in it, right? But they cast Gal Gadot, and I was kind of like, give her a chance. Who cares? It really was like Ben Affleck's Batman. I mean, you might as well, like, whatever. You know, because I just didn't think there was anything else. And also, you know, I was really against all this kind of body shaming that people were doing against her. I thought it was pretty juvenile. Oh, she doesn't have big enough titties to play Wonder Woman. And that's so against the bloody character anyway. For all those people who were saying that, that's so against the message of the character. Like, Wonder Woman would be like ashamed of like fans who would say, like, if she was real. Of course she isn't. Is she? But you know, all that body shaming. So I kind of came to support Gal Gadot a bit, even though I was like, maybe you could have found like an actress who'd done more than the Furious Fast Five. You know, you can't give her something, you know, a bit lesser, so to actually test her out. Can she carry her own movie? I was worried about the acting. Her acting. I was not worried about her body type. I thought she could beef up with the John Jones or whatever they do, or Jim Jones thing that they do, that routine that Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill went on to beef up for the roles as Superman and Batman respectively. But anyway, so that's the narrative so far, right? So I'm kind of really thinking that sorry about that. I'm really thinking that I can't hate on there wasn't enough hate within me to get any more angry at this movie. And then I woke up one day and the news was, because, you know, and I knew it wasn't a joke this time. I knew it wasn't a joke. I'd heard things that, you know, that they said that Joaquin Phoenix might be playing Lex Luthor, and I was like, oh, cool, Joaquin Phoenix, because Lex Luthor being the bad guy, the main bad guy of Superman, who's one of my favorite superheroes, so he's really, really one of my favorite villains. And I thought, whoa, Joaquin Phoenix, especially the way he played the bad guy in Gladiator, I could really see that would be incredible to see that. You know, his take on Lex Luthor and what he did. There's this other movie he did, The Master, and where he just freaked out. He was just like some crazy guy, like complete psychotic, and he just, what a performance, you know, he was nuts. And I just thought, wow, if he took on Lex Luthor, he could do something that we had never seen before of the character. And I still wish they had have cast him as Lex Luthor, but like they should have given him anything he wanted to play Lex Luthor. I think that would have been money very, very well spent, and nobody would be complaining now. But instead I wake up and I find out Jesse Eisenberg has been cast as Lex Luthor. And I'm like, The Social Network guy? What, just because he played a billionaire before? And I knew it wasn't a joke, because when, as I said, when Ben Affleck got cast, I was like, Jesus Christ, this is a joke. Like, it took me a whole 2 hours to finally believe that it was real news. I kept searching for where they were saying, oh, it's a prank, when it was Ben Affleck. But now I was like, okay, anything can happen. And when I saw, you know, Jesse Eisenberg, Lex Luthor, it's not Joaquin Phoenix, it's Jesse Eisenberg, Zombieland, Jesse Eisenberg. Of all the people, and it wasn't, and I remember at the time people kept saying, oh, but he looks so young, and I thought, what a cool idea when it was suggested by Zack Snyder, even though I thought Zack Snyder couldn't pull off these great ideas that he always has. But I thought, what a cool idea to have a young Lex Luthor, like a Lex Luthor who is one of these kind of like young Harvard, kind of Silicon Valley, you know, billionaires, made it by himself because he's just such a genius. And then he finds, that's a really, really interesting take on Lex Luthor. And so I had no problem with a young Lex Luthor. But Jesse Eisenberg, I was like, wow, they managed to do it. This makes Ben Affleck's casting as Batman look bloody genius. I was like, awful. So by the time, and I was so taken away by vehement hatred of this idea of Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. Once again, I couldn't sleep. As Edward Norton said. Yes, once again, I couldn't sleep. I just, I was like, okay, this is when this movie comes out, I'm gonna tear it apart. I'm gonna watch it, and I'm gonna come back, and I'm gonna rip it to shreds. I knew everything about this movie was gonna be awful, dreadful, the worst thing I'd ever seen. And I thought that this casting was perhaps going to be the worst thing of all. And then I went to the cinema after I couldn't sleep for months. And I was so depressed I couldn't even make a video when they announced it. I couldn't sleep, as I said. And then I went to the cinema, ready to see this awful abomination of a performance. That I was, from Ben Affleck and I was pretty sure Ben Affleck was going to be pretty average. Like he's just, what he always does. He's always like serviceable, but he doesn't do anything interesting. And I was pretty sure that, Jesse Eisenberg was going to be Jesse Eisenberg, which I like Jesse Eisenberg, but I just like him being Jesse Eisenberg in those comedies, and every once in a while maybe he can take on a slightly serious role, but he's Jesse Eisenberg. And man, I went to the cinema and I'm watching it and I see the first scene of him and I listen to the writing, because the writing of Lex Luthor in this Batman v Superman is absolutely brilliant. And I see this guy play Lex Luthor, and yeah, he's a bit ticky and he's a bit weird and he's a bit, but people are saying this guy is not. Look, let me put my cards on the table. I thought Jesse Eisenberg's performance in Batman v Superman, some of his scenes, not all together, because some of his scenes, I get what people are saying, are a bit too ticky, a bit too weird. But once again, I think people are way over exaggerating this. And what he pulls off is one of it. To me, him and Gal Gadot did the best job in the movie. I think his performance as Lex Luthor to me was more interesting than Henry Cavill as Superman, and a little bit more interesting, and more, actually, in a weird way, comic accurate. But this is in the writing, not in the performance, but more comic accurate than Ben Affleck as Batman. I think Jesse Eisenberg did an outstanding job as Lex Luthor, especially in some of the key scenes. I think some of the places he was doing his little tick things and little crazy things, but I think generally speaking, apart from when he went a little bit too manic, he was nailing, and even more so than his performance was the dialogue. The dialogue of Lex Luthor, that was the most Lex Luthor dialogue I have ever heard in any, specifically in this media. I mean, Chris Terrio, you are bloody genius, and people will, one day people are going to understand just how good what you did was. with the writing there. The writing there was exceptional. It was absolutely exceptional. I'm going to show you a scene. You know, the scene on the rooftop. Let's watch this together because I just have to break this down because it's that good.